Okay, welcome to the Points Performance Podcast with me, Tom Blay. I've had a few weeks off because I've been pissed off at the world. This week, I'm joined by lovely Kate Cocker, who is one of the members at CrossFit 3D and many more things. Kate, would you introduce yourself, please?
I am wife, mother, CrossFitter.
CrossFit wanker.
Pardon?
CrossFit wanker.
Yeah, fully signed up, actually. And what else? I coach people how to present. So I'm watching your every move and listening to your every move. And I also have a podcast called Everyday Positivity, which is about helping people be kind to themselves and feel good about themselves every day.
Lovely.
There you go.
So we've been flirting around with this idea of doing a podcast for a few weeks.
Yes.
Talking about a couple of very, very sensitive subjects.
Do we need some ground rules?
Nah.
Do we need a safe word?
Banana.
Banana. Okay.
Right. Right. So today, what we're going to get into, Kate?
We are going to talk about prolapse.
Yes.
Women's health. And I really wanted to do this on this podcast because it feels to me like it's a good place to do it, so that people who don't usually hear about this sort of stuff hear about this sort of stuff. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Because there's a great podcast called Why Mums Can't Jump, which is all about prolapse, which I thought would be a good thing to talk about it on. But this is my choice. So what do you want to know?
So you messaged me a couple of weeks ago because we've been doing some training together, haven't we?
Yeah.
Making you stronger.
Yeah.
Helping you get towards your goals a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been working towards things like pull-ups.
Yeah.
All that sort of good stuff. Improving your core strength, which is very key. And then you messaged me panicking a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I did.
This issue that you've had historically anyway.
Yeah. So okay, let's go into it then. So at the point that I decided to start working with you, I'd got to a point in my training that I hadn't got to, or I got to before, but then always fallen back from, which is I'm really feeling really strong. I want to improve. I want to get better now, because actually over the last lockdown, I actually improved my fitness and I improved my strength. Yeah. So I didn't want to track back.
You got really lean as well.
Yeah, I did a proper nice eating program and lost 10 kilos. So I just was feeling fitter, leaner, stronger, everything. And then I was at the box actually doing front squats, hold and up. And I was sort of experiencing some sort of discomfort. And afterwards I checked and was like, oh my goodness, there's a lump in that area. And my brain was like, oh no, that's not supposed to be there. What is that? Got home, went and had a look in the mirror, as you do. I went, oh my God, I can see it. It's not supposed to look like that. I don't tend to look in that area very much. So got Tim out.
An expert.
Got the expert out, business end. And basically read, right, I'm going to lie on the bed and I'm going to open my legs and you need to look and tell me if that's normal. And I went, okay, after 3, 1, 2, 3, open legs. Husband goes, no, that is not normal. Within two like heartbeats, and I go quick like that. Close my legs back up again. I was like, what do you mean it doesn't look like the centerfold of Razzle magazine? Anyway, at that point I realized that it's a prolapse, which 4 years ago I'd had some symptoms and gone, I was walking for about half a mile and would need the toilet. Yeah. And so I was suffering from kind of minor incontinence and minor sort of needing the toilet all the time. So I went and had it checked because I knew that this might be something that would happen. Shall I explain what a prolapse is?
Please.
Yeah, that would be a good idea, wouldn't it? So what we're talking about is prolapse is when an organ in your body drops from where it should be. So it goes downwards. And what we're talking about here is a pelvic organ prolapse, or POP, as they kind of abbreviate it to. And what seems to be happening is my bladder has now dropped into my pelvic floor muscles. So it's protruding in areas that it shouldn't be protruding. And you can have stages of this. So they mark it on the stages of 1 to 4. And when I had myself checked before and I went through the doctors and everything 4 years ago, they were like, right, you're probably about a 1.5, maybe a 2.
Yeah.
Do your pelvic floor exercises. but don't run a half marathon. I went, okay, well, that makes sense. Maybe high impact over long periods of time isn't the best thing for gravity and for pelvic floor muscles. And then they said, don't go spinning. And I was like, what do you mean don't go spinning? I don't stand up and sit down on the spinning bike. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Are you saying that I can't exercise here? Because this is sort of a really big part of who I am and what I do. And they're like, well, you shouldn't be doing this and you shouldn't be doing that. Do these pelvic floor exercises and you probably could lift a wardrobe if you were moving one, you know, that kind of thing. So when I kind of saw this lump about 4 years later that came out of nowhere, no extra other symptoms, nothing that made me go, I'm in pain or I'm uncomfortable. It was just a kind of random search moment that had discovered it. I freaked out because in that 4 years, I've started lifting heavy objects quite regularly if I started to do CrossFit. And so then I was like, oh, I've ruined myself. It's my fault. I shouldn't have done this. So when I text you, and actually you were one of the first people that I contacted because I was like, well, first of all, fundamentally, you're my coach and I'm freaking out. And there's something going that I'm basically essentially injured, if you like, and I don't know how to deal with that. I also understood that, you know, CrossFit for women, there's often talk about people, you know, wetting themselves. We've joked over the last year I've been part of the box about, I'm like, I have to get a bigger boat when we're doing double unders, you know.
We've had the mop out many a time for
yeah, exactly. So I kind of felt comfortable talking about it, which I just want to kind of note here was really important to me, to be able to phone you and go, oh my God, and to be quite emotional about it, because I was panicking, because it's like when something like that happens, it's like any injury, isn't it? You can't do the thing that you love, and you've got to get over the fact that that part of you might not exist anymore, and that's grief. That's, you know, that's an identity shift, and identity shifts are highly linked to depression, you know, all that stuff. So it's just part of the change process, really. And you were great, actually, because you're constantly going, this is temporary, at me. It's really good. So then I then had this hilarious moment where I couldn't book an appointment with the GP, which is a whole other thing, because of dates and times, but finally got in. I finally got a really good GP this time, and I just basically walked in and said, if you tell me I can't exercise, I'm not playing. You know, don't send me to a physio who's going to say to me, do your pelvic floor exercises at the traffic lights and don't lift anything, because that is not happening. And to be fair to her, she was great. The GP was like, because I'm only 41, I should probably see a gynecologist. So I'm still waiting for my letter to be referred there. But go and sort yourself out with your own physio. So you and I did a bit of researching, and I found one actually in Chorlton called Katie Sirrett, who's great. And I've been to see her, and she was like, well, I phoned her from the meat aisle in Aldi. And I was like, I need to come and see you. I've got this prolapse going on, and I'm basically really scared that you're going to tell me I can't exercise anymore. She went, in the last 4 years, literally in the last 4 years, everything has changed. So that's where we're at. We're getting physio now, and there's some interesting learnings, I have to say.
Yeah. Scary. It's so frightening, isn't it, to have like all your fun and all your happiness taken away, and look like the amazing changes you've made to your body and your strength and your confidence from CrossFit. So having that taken away, like I've had it before, I've had injuries and stuff before where you are literally panicking, and you're terrified that you might not be able to live your life the way you like doing it, like the way you love doing it. So I can imagine how terrifying that was at that time.
And also, I'm not experiencing any pain. The only sign, like, I couldn't do, we kept on getting programmed star jumps, didn't we, over lockdown?
The best.
And I think there was one session where I ended up with I always call them the PT sessions, where it's just you and the trainer, and it was you. And I was like, I don't think I could do all those star jumps. And then I did them, and there was no problem whatsoever. And I sort of had forgotten that it was a problem, that I might have a bit of a prolapse, or I might have a bit of a, you know, bladder dysfunction or anything like that. And I'd sort of started to believe that I had defied nature, you know, and I'd actually made it go away, because for all the intents and purposes, it's not temporary. This is, you know, it's not going to go back up. You know, the gravity's one way at this point, if you believe in it.
Another podcast.
Hey, Tom.
I haven't got the expertise for that one. Right. So what is the plan? Like, it's obviously very terrifying. You know, it's for you who loves exercise. There are people out there who are probably struggling with this.
So
what do we do?
Well, this is the bit that I keep getting my head tangled round, which is, when do I know it's better, or when do I know I can lift? So there is a plan. I've seen my physio. I've had the inspection, which was interesting in itself. There are positives, which are the lying down inspection was the same as the standing up one. Which means nothing's dropping when I stand up. So that's the positives. She's given me some exercises. There's actually a really great app called Squeezy, which the NHS have done, so I do 2 sets of pelvic floor exercises a day with that, timing me and everything, which is good.
Brilliant.
And then the bit that we discovered was that my left side, which you'll appreciate this because my right side is really tight on my back, but my left side on the inside is really tight. So I don't know what's happening there. There's something compensation stuff going on. So we're actually about loosening the left side. Interestingly, the left side is where the bladder has fallen into.
Right.
So something subconsciously is happening there. So I've got some stretches to do. And then if you see me in the box lying on my back, that's one of the things to do to relax. And I keep on joking that that's everything going back in. Actually reversing. She said I could do handstands, which was great. I was like, brilliant. She's like, that's a good inversion to do.
Yeah. What would you say to other women who are struggling with this?
So I don't know that we know we're struggling with it. That's the bit that is bothering me the most. And I've spoken to a couple of the girls at the box, and a couple of them kind of like look at me like, oh my God, like whites of eyes come out going, I didn't know this was the thing. And some people go, oh yeah, I think about that all the time. And Jamie, the one of the trainers at the box, was brilliant because she actually showed me that what I was doing was I'm breathing wrong. And that when you breathe out under, no, let me rephrase that I should be breathing out on the exertion, and on that breath out, I should be pulling the pelvic floor muscles in.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I was doing that before, but my current state is that's the thing I'm focusing on the most. So in all of the training that we're doing now, I'm just going down in, well, first thing first, no jumping. So no impact work. And then second thing is every time we do a new move, I'm just trying to work out where to breathe.
Yeah.
And then how to then implement it. So rowing was the first one. I got quite good at that now. So it's funny how quickly your brain rewires.
Yeah. The best athletes in the world learn to breathe with the movements.
Yeah.
You know, so lifting, breathing at the right time, filling your belly with air, breathing out as you stand up out of a clean, like all those sorts of things. Like the best do that. The most efficient people do that anyway. And it's just correct bracing. So it's a great skill to have, and it's probably going to make you more efficient in CrossFit with your movements.
I tell you what, those first couple of weeks though afterwards, so it happened, I slowed down, went away for a week, came back, and I just kept on getting really tearful through the workouts. I kept on being like, oh, I can't do it anymore, having to like hide like my tears as I was lifting something. And I said to Jamie, I said, right, that was, I think one Sunday afterwards, I was like, that was the first workout I've done where I've not had a cry halfway through. So, you know, the process and the progress helps and is there. And it's just weird. Like, you can't tell, like, people will ask if you're injured or, you know, why aren't you working out? And you're like, I just don't want people. So I'm doing a podcast, but I don't want people to look at me and go, "Oh, our bladder's about to fall on the floor." Yeah. I think I told someone the other day, and I was like, "No, it can fall out." And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Wait, it can't fall out. It's fine." But it is something that, as women, this is kind of part of the bigger picture. I think, you know, obesity is such a problem in this country. And 4 years ago, I was basically told to stop exercising by the NHS, and to me, that felt really counterintuitive and counterproductive with everything that we're trying to do in this country to get people healthy, or at the time we were trying to do to get people healthy. So I'm glad that the advice has changed, but it's so hard to get girls and women to exercise. It's so hard for them to find things that they enjoy. You know, age of 7, they drop out of sport. And then you've got to teach them how to breathe properly and use the pelvic floor properly to prevent them from, you know, it's just such a difficult conversation, I think.
Yeah. Why do you think it is that girls in particular don't want to exercise?
Why do you think in particular men struggle to talk about their emotions? That's the difference. That's it.
Insecurity.
Yeah. I think so. I do a podcast called Everyday Positivity. It's part of, I see it as part of the well-being world, right? I think that the well-being world speaks in a very female language. And I think the sporting world speaks in a very male language and a very male way. And I think that's my comparison. It's that, you know, when you're talking to a man about, gosh, I'm making massive sweeping statements now, but
go for it.
In general, when you speak to men about mental health, you know, if you're talking about self-compassion, you might start talking about inner games or inner, you know, you when you talk about your self-development, you talk about, I am going in this direction and we're doing it in this way and this is how I'm going to go about it. Whereas for women, it's a different process. And I know that because I did some work with GM Moving a few years ago, which, you know, their whole mission was to get 2 million people moving in Manchester. And they would find things like they'd engage women by doing selfie walks or, you know, making sure that there was netball going on at the same time as a nail bar. You know, it's just engaging women in sport is, it has to be a slightly different approach to the way that sport, I think, is set up. That's, and sport and fitness are also two different things as well.
Definitely.
Two different things as well. And I think, but then I also think that I can tell in my working life, I could tell the people who didn't really play sport because they didn't understand teams, they didn't understand structure, they didn't understand winning versus losing, you know. And I played sport when I was younger. I came through the ranks and I played lacrosse all through my teens and into my 20s, and I played netball over the last few years, and I play squash now, you know. So I get a real thrill from it. So I find it really difficult. My daughter's not into it at all, and I find that really hard.
Yeah,
because I can't work out how to engage her without it being like a negative thing.
Yeah. Do you remember any kids at school who were like that, like girls in your class who just wouldn't get involved? I mean, I do. The kids who were the ones who just were in the uniform when it was PE. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it was at the time, it was things like they wouldn't go swimming because they were on. You know,
I mean, that's fair enough. You know, they might have felt.
Yeah, I know. Rubbish. Yeah, but I don't. To be fair, do I remember? Well, I think we had a few options at school because we played lacrosse and we played netball, and I don't know, my social circles were still quite sporty, but I remember it being my mum and my husband's mum are both like, I don't understand this. Like, what are you doing? Don't understand this sport thing. You know, my mum never took part when we were running around in the garden. Mum would just sit on the side. Yeah. And I just never wanted to be like that with my kids. I was like, I want to be able to join in. I want to be able to pick them up and throw them. I want to be able to do a push up with them on my back. You know, that's my aim of being fit, is that I can enjoy. That's why I buy into CrossFit so much, because it's all about that, you know, fit for life stuff. It's like, that's what I want. I want to be able to do those things so that I can enjoy my life.
Absolutely. I think I've said it on this podcast so many times about health, fitness, obesity being a huge part of that as well.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's not really talked about as much. Like, we've gone through all this crap this last year and a half about this coronavirus. And really, the main pandemic has always been obesity, because that leads to way more deaths, way more early deaths, way more horrible illnesses and diseases than COVID-19 has. Way more. For your lifestyle contributes to these deadly things in your life, but it's ignored, and it's all right. It sounds like it's accepted that when you get to a certain age, when you've had so many children, that you have got this big belly, that you are a bit heavier, you are
under
a bit
prolapse.
Yeah,
it is. It's accepted.
It's accepted, and it's like, it's maddening how it's just like, oh, I've had 2 kids now, you know, like, and extra cushion for the pushing, and then whatever other like nice little phrase you want to add to it to make yourself feel better about getting fat. Like, it's so hard for me to accept as a trainer that people are fine with it.
Yeah.
When I see so many people in the gym who don't want to be that.
Okay, so I think there's that. So I, you know, as I said, my daughter's not into it at all. Well, not at all. She understands why she needs to exercise. But I find it, as a mother, I have worked really hard to not be angry at the state of my own body in front of her, in terms of I don't like the way I look stuff, because I don't want to pass on that kind of self-flagellation, if you like, to her, because it's just, this is such a tangly world, Tom, because you can't, it's the body shaming element. You can't achieve anything by shaming anyone, you know. It actually has the reverse effect if you shame people. And yet, that's how do you then start the conversation without treading into that world? So over the years, my daughter has come up on the charts as high, you know, in terms of the weight. And I'd get really cross because I wouldn't get any advice on how to talk to her about it. I'd just be like, get her on a diet. And I've got friends now who've been on a diet since they were 9 and they're in their 40s. And it's like, you don't want to put your kid on a diet when they're 9, you know. It's like, but how do you have these conversations?
So a couple of ways in the past that have helped me personally with my clients and friends is not to be like, you're fat, Dave. It's more educational and letting them know that where they're at is okay for now. Really, like, if you look at your long-term health and what type of condition do you want to be in when you're 50, 60, 70, pointing out that it's almost like you've got a slow puncture in your tire. We need to get it sorted because at some point things are going to go badly. Just saying it in the right way, and being honest. You know, you have to have a level of, like, I wouldn't call it cruelty, but I'd just be like, I'm being really honest with you because I love you. And this is this is the crack. And it has to come from a place of love, however you say it. It's not a criticism. It's not your shit. It's more like, I love you and I care about you so much. I'm going to be the messenger who gets shot, as in shoot the messenger. I'm going to be the messenger who says, this is what's happening and we're heading towards a dark place.
You've got a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Do you worry about, and a son? Do you worry about it differently for both of them?
Well, Thea's been doing burpees since she's
probably quite ingrained, isn't she? All those baby pictures of her the other day, like in the box. Like,
I've got a video.
Her way of life, right?
In the first lockdown, I was training in the back garden. I was doing burpees. I finished the round, and she comes over and starts doing burpees on the mat. Xander's 10. He can do pistols, climb a rope. You know, he can do handstands. He's clean and jerk 25 kilograms. Like, I'm not worried. My kids see me and Laura
doing it,
training all the time. We eat really well. We are all about sleep and spending time together, building relationships, having, you know, and all the things that contribute to a healthy lifestyle. So the examples there with my kids, and we talk to them about it. And I think that one of the main things is that it's just not been talked about enough over the dinner table. That you have one body and you should respect it and treat it with care, because it's not weird. It's just obvious how these people who are obese, who don't want to train, who don't want to do any sport, are also really, really insecure and they don't open up. And I think that it's because there's a severe sort of lack of honesty in people's lives, and things just get swept under the carpet a little bit. Like, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. We'll deal with that.
It goes in the. I've got a friend who talks about the all too difficult box, and it goes in the all too difficult box.
Yeah, and the thing is, and people comment on this quite a lot, but my what's the what box called again? Sorry.
It's all too difficult.
All too difficult to deal with box.
Yeah.
That my box is like that
You've got
big.
no red dots on your inbox.
Yeah, it's dealt with.
No blobs.
And I end up saying a lot of things that people are like, oh, just cringe at, because they don't want to deal with it, or it's the taboo subject. So it's like, oh my God, you've just pointed out the massive elephant in the room. Like, I'm always just casting a light on that, because I can't live any other way, because I know that if you live and ignore these things, your life will just continue to get worse and worse and worse and worse until you deal with it. And it's always going to be harder to deal with, isn't it? Later on.
Yeah, and that's proven true in this situation that I've got now. In fact, both of them. Like, if I'd have done more of my pelvic floor exercises, and I, maybe hadn't done spinning, it was that fury. I was like, I'm doing it. I'm gonna just start CrossFit. I'm gonna defy nature. But I think what people struggle with is the words, and I certainly, I've been afraid to say things, and it's Tim and I are so big on this in terms of how we speak to the children. When they were kids, I ended up going to like this parent school, which was really cool. I only went because it has 2 hours of free crash, because I had two kids under 2, I had 15 months between them. I was like, bloody free crash, I'm in. But the actual stuff about communicating with your kids was really amazing, because it's all about, and you'll get this with your coaching, it's all about telling people what you want them to do, not being flaky. So in this way of thinking, like, to help your kids understand consequences, it's never if you do this then you'll get that, it's when you do this then you'll get that. It's the difference. And it's like, when you hear parents say, don't spill that drink that they've got, and then the kid spills that drink and then they get really told off, it's because they've not heard the don't. Like, your brain doesn't hear the don't. So had it at the weekend, like, the kids are all touching stuff, like we've got loads of nieces and nephews, and they're all like getting their hands in the cake, and I'm like, right, everyone, hands on your tummy. And they all put their hands on the tummy, which is the same result, but I'm not telling them off.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to
coaching the positive.
Yeah, coaching the positive. So when it comes to this bit, which is, okay, women's health, number one, and then women's fitness and eating and body, and there's all this stuff. We've got language, we call it body shaming, but we don't have anything that goes, how do we talk about, it's that focus on health, it's that focus on strength.
Yeah, even something like body positivity, like, can end up leading to a negative health wise, because it's like, it's absolutely this person who's 20 stones amazing and beautiful, and I'm sure she is to someone, but she's also severely obese and incredibly unhealthy.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to acknowledge that, there are people who genuinely really struggle, and there are people with autoimmune diseases and all that kind of stuff that do struggle with their weight, and it is part of that. I also understand that it's different for everyone, and that's actually part of the challenge, which is that, we are so flooded with food information and diets, and we should be doing this and we should be doing that, and this is how, eat mindfully and do that. There's so much that we get really bombarded and confused about our diets and what kind of exercise we should be doing, and everyone's got their own opinion on it. Like, is it food?
Into the gym, like, I listen to podcasts, so I'm doing keto, or like, and I'm like, great, go for it, try it, learn something when you fucked it up, and whatever, come back and we'll talk about it. Like, it's just all learning, though. Like,
it is, and understanding what you need. So I basically, for the last 20 years, have spent my life putting on a stone and losing a stone, and putting on a stone and losing a stone, and putting on a stone. I've done Weight Watchers, I've had a dietitian, and it's only, and I've done this exercise, I've had a personal trainer, I've done all sorts of different things. And I think if someone had sat me down and gone, right, what kind of person are you? Well, okay, I'm the kind of person who likes working really hard. I like being around people. I like having some accountability. I think I'd have been doing CrossFit about 10 years ago, because CrossFit ticks all of those boxes.
Yeah.
But, my daughter, it's not her thing, and I've just got to find her thing. Equally with my food. Like, I'm on a plan where I have a coach. So I have someone on WhatsApp that I go, what do I do? and I'm not counting calories. They're watching my protein and my macros.
Yeah.
And now I'm actually at the point where, because the biggest challenge I was having was I'd lose the stone and then I'd just put it back on again. So now I'm maintaining. So same as with the CrossFit approach, which was I want to get better.
So it looks to me you found the way. You found the way for you.
Yeah.
You've not found the way for your daughter.
No, but I will.
Yeah.
Or
but firstly, have you found the way because you know your why?
Yeah. And I know the type of person I am, and
Right.
I understand my values enough to go, this way is for me.
Right.
So
is the issue with your daughter that she doesn't know why yet?
I think she's probably bombarded with our whys.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to do a bit of work around listening to her and finding out what works for her, because, you know, she was really into her gymnastics for a bit, and over lockdown she'd go and do some gymnastics in the back garden, and then, you know, we'd be like, yeah, but you also need to do, and that's, to her, that means, oh, I shouldn't be doing my gymnastics.
How old is she?
12 now.
Yeah. And that's like a really hard age to be a younger.
Oh God, it's making me want to cry talking about it. It's really hard, because you don't want to end up down that road of, you know, you hear so many horror stories of, you know, of eating disorders and all that. You just don't,
And
I just don't want to bring that to her.
It can go a number of ways.
And actually, it's not, the problem has arisen because someone at school has teased her for her size. So, and like, you can't protect them, but that's a horrible feeling.
No.
I should have been there before them. I should have dealt with this before the world got her. But actually, you can't stop the world getting them.
You can't
God, just give
them
the tools to deal with it.
You can't. They've got to learn, and they've got to experience this sort of stuff. You know, like bullying and the way people are. Like it's very hard, and you know, it's a horrible feeling that you can't protect your kids from anything because you want, but you can't. You know, and you want them to grow, and you want them to get a thick skin, and you want them to think inwardly a little bit and think about themselves. And
well, I don't want her to have a thick skin. That's a really funny thing. You said that.
As in a little bit like.
I want her to know she's okay. I want her to know that she's okay from the belly, from her core. And that's what we did this morning as she went into school this morning. I went, right, come on, what's good about you? She was like, I'm really clever. And yes, she's very funny, and I'm beautiful. Yeah, go. And you know, it's wind in the sails. It's never.
I don't mean thick skin. I mean, as in like she can just ignore things. I mean, that's not about what about it is like, but it is about knowing who she is. So if somebody says, like, if somebody said to me, "You're going bald," I'd be like, "Are you mad?" Do you know what I'm saying? Because I know, because I'm confident with what I've got. Like, or I know I'm nowhere near bald. And someone said to me, "You're short," I'd be like, "I'm 6 foot tall." Do you know what I mean? I knowing who you are is the armor, is the strength.
Yeah.
So that's really positive that you said that. Like, that's really good. It's good for
it's just rebuilding her back up.
That she's worthy and she's strong and she's got a lot going for her.
Yeah. And then I closed the door and burst into tears, obviously.
Yeah. Feeling's okay. Feeling stuff is okay.
It's normal. You got to go through it, otherwise you can't get out the other side.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said about doing a gymnastics in the back garden, and it is so easy to be like, well, you should have done a bit of this, and you should probably finish with some of this, and you know, and instead, like the best approach I've found is just to praise what's happened, praise the positive, and sometimes you can give the shit sandwich, but you know that doesn't really work well. I don't whether it's with work colleagues or family or friends. It's more like what would you call it? A shit bruschetta, not a shit sandwich. Do you know what I mean? I only want one side of shit.
You only want one side.
Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, well, in neuroscience, you've got to, for people to experience change, they need to feel comfortable. So that's the purpose of the shit sandwich, as you call it, is the shit bruschetta. It's like, okay, you're doing this really well, here's what I would advise you do. So yeah, that's why that works, because it's about that comfort and trust.
Yeah. I think the why aspect of it though is really
that's really interesting.
So yeah, the why is everything. I think, like, because it's the anchor that pulls you back. Like, when you go off the boil, or when you've got your why and you forget it, and you're like, we have like a term when people are trying to lose weight called the fuck it moment, where they just go, right, sack it. I'm just going to fuck my eating plan off, or whatever it is that they're doing, or I'm just going to forget all my good lifestyle habits. They have the fuck it moment. And then it's like, how strong is the why, and can it bring you back to where you want to be? Can it bring you back to your good lifestyle habits and what you agreed to yourself with yourself that you'd start doing?
So I've got to a point now where I know myself well enough that I almost schedule in off-plan days.
Yeah.
It's get off the plan to stay on the plan. But 100%. Yeah, the why. I had a moment the other weekend, actually. We were on our way back, and I just had this moment where I was like, I don't know what I want. What do I want? And I think that's the bit of state of play, which is that we've lost sight of where we're going a little bit. But yeah, I think in terms of her why, it's hard to get a 12-year-old to think like that. But I think that might be one of my ways of talking to her about it. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, definitely. It's it's really difficult when you're trying to figure out who you are anyway. At 12 years old, like,
I mean, I'm 40. I've just worked it out, for crying out loud. 41. I'm not trying to do my media age. 38. No, it's more, it's taken me 20 odd years to kind of work out all of that stuff.
Yeah, I think it took me till I was like 28 to figure out what I really wanted to do and how I could, be happiest.
Yeah.
And that's what it was, though. It was like, how can I make myself the happiest? And it was by doing everything I wanted to do in life. But when you're 12, it's like, you've got to go to school.
Yeah.
You've got to go to bed at this time. You've got to do a lot.
Yeah.
You have to do a lot.
And all the time you're negotiating and navigating friendships and relationships for the first time. Pardon?
Hormone levels.
Yeah.
Not knowing why you're full of rage for 10 minutes, or you feel like you want to cry. And, as a girl, it's really, really tough. I mean, as a lad, it might be a bit different for boys, like, because growing up, it's like, I just want to go and play footy. I just want to smash computer games on my own. It's weird. It's a bit, I'd say it's a bit simpler being a lad, but I kind of don't want to just write that off, because there are things, aren't there, that I've been watching Fargo recently on Netflix. There's this great moment where in season 2, where one of the characters tells a story about a helicopter pilot who basically has to hold his helicopter in Vietnam over to save his family. Do you know what I mean? He's in the war, and he's the pilot. He's saving his family. And he talks about, and you talked a bit about this with Tim, actually, about the kind of male instinct to protect, instinct to provide. And at the end of the whole story, he goes, we carry a burden, but our privilege is our burden, or our burden is our privilege. And I think in both cases, like for women, I think, I have to say, it makes me really angry that boys don't have to go to the doctor and have things done to them like I've had to have done to me in the last, month or so, and when I was having babies, and all it makes me so cross. But I have to be really careful with Connie to not go, oh, it's really rubbish being a woman because you have to go to the doctor and do this, because it's not. My burden is my privilege. I get to have babies. I get to, all of it's that. It's flip. I love that line so much. Our burden is our privilege. And I think that's what we're talking about here, is that tough love element. And sometimes that sort of, we're so afraid of the negative, and we're so afraid of the stress and all of that. Actually, that's therein, and that discomfort, therein lies the secret to happiness. It's in the discomfort. And that's what I'm doing every day with everyday positivity. That's the kind of stuff I'm saying all the time, is that, positivity and thinking in a good way isn't about pasting a smile over the cracks of life. It's about knowing that you can deal with the cracks of life and trusting yourself to do so, which I think you're very good at. And I'm always quite interested, like I'll say, like, where do you get that self-belief from? Where's that from? How have you got that? And you say, from messing up. Experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just self-honesty, just completely laying everything bare, like every day. being honest with myself. And I talked a little bit before we started about the coaching process. And and I've talked about this before anyway, when you see things in class that people are doing, how they're acting, how they're moving, I know that some coaches just walk past it when they've tried to correct it and they can't help and just walk past. But like, as a coach, I can't walk past it. I have to help. I have to change. I have to help people out and try and improve them. And it just all ties in with that sort of honesty with people. And it's not like, hey, you're fat, deal with it. It's just being honest with people and having the confidence to try and help them. And it has to come from a place of love. But like you said about me personally, why I feel I am capable of doing that, or why I feel like I have the right to act that way. Like another member said it to me the other day, said, "Oh, you've got a massive attitude." What he meant was like that you're really open. I speak very openly and I'm very honest with people. And that does come from having a lot of self-confidence. But that's something that I've earned over time by messing things up and learning about who I am, my flaws, my strengths, my weaknesses, my character, and ultimately understanding who I am and owning it.
Can you change?
Yeah, for the better. I could improve. Sometimes.
Go on.
No, you go on.
I was going to ask about, are you wrong ever?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's if I get some information that proves that I've been wrong, then I have to absorb that, take it, and be like, right, shit. Apologize to someone who needs an apology. Tell them that I do know, and then use that information going forward to be a better person, be a better coach, husband, dad, friend, whatever it is. I've made mistakes with my kids. I've definitely made mistakes with my wife. But through making the mistake and owning it instead of just ignoring it and then repeating it over and over and over again and fucking things up, it's eventually improved my marriage. It's improved my communication with my wife. It's improved my parenting skills with my son. You have to take these things and use them. Like your failures are lessons. They're not something to just be like, oh, I fucking failed and it's over there now forever in the back of my mind. It's like, I'm going to take that, I'm going to attach it to my armor, and that's another piece. That's another piece of me now.
And just to bring it back, I think that's one of the surprising lessons over the last year for me has been, you can do that slowly, you can do that bit by bit, and it really will help. I think I'm such an all or nothing person. You're talking about the fuck it
stone
moment.
On, stone off, sounds like it.
Yeah, stone on, stone off, exactly, all or nothing. And through, I joined 3D in August, one Friday morning when the 6 a.m. class are doing shorts on Friday morning. I think it might have been, well, I won't say who it was, but my Zoom screen was just someone's crotch going up and down as the 6 a.m. class was finishing. I was like, this is my into 3D, bro. that's my lasting memory. And I think we were all a bit dismissive of Zoom classes, but in the final lockdown, we were doing, me and Tanya and Helen and Kat were doing 6 a.m. probably 6 times a week, 5, maybe 6 times a week. And I came back stronger and fitter, and I got back to the box and I was doing things, and the people that I noticed, other people in the box, because I'm not supposed to compare, I know, but other people in the box that had often been doing things quicker than me weren't. And I was like, oh, okay, so doing it little and often really does work. And now I'm in a situation where the mistake is I've not been breathing properly on my exertions, and now my bladder has dropped. But now the lesson is, from that, I can change things, but I just have to take it slow, and that's okay. So just do it one step at a time. And, I don't know where the end is, but the physio says I can lift again, and I can play squash, and I can do handstands, And there'll be things that I have to adjust forever, and I might not get my 140 PB on the old deadlift, which I really want, but we'll work on that. But I'm now going, right, well, my next session with her is in 2 weeks' time. Then we assess and we work towards that, rather than it, that bladder's never going back up. And I might have to have an operation, which will then cause me other things. But now I'm in a place where I can go, I know my body and I'm okay. Yeah. So I'll just keep going. I'll just do it little and often, and tell you to stop me and look you dead in the eye and go, don't make me do a toaster bar. I don't think I can do it. And you go, go on. And I do it and it's fine.
Yeah. You think that ties in with all people who do get to a point where they are obese or they are like of ill health, and it's like, well, because I can't flip the switch and be healthy tomorrow, I'm not even going to bother trying. And really, like, what they should be doing is just chip away, just make a start 1% every day. It's
really hard to understand what that is, I think, but I think that's probably going to be my approach.
When you're so far away from the goal.
Yeah.
But what you need to understand is that, like, life isn't going anywhere. Like, why not move the needle one little degree? Like, it's instead, let's just take one step at a time, and then slowly you'll get there. But if you stand still or you just self-sabotage, you're never going to get there. It's okay to be frustrated.
Yeah.
And I know you are. And I've been in the past. Stuff's happened and I'm like, ugh. I remember when I really badly injured my leg and had an operation, and my leg was completely straight. So I had compartment syndrome and a double fasciotomy. And my leg was so stiff and swollen.
You're going to have to say that again. What does that mean?
Oh, compartment syndrome is...
This is where you start talking about MVPs and you're not talking about most valuable players. You're talking about some tendon.
Compartment syndrome is where you have a trauma or an impact to a limb. And it swells. The blood all goes to that part of the body.
Oh, wow.
Horrifically. So you've seen the scar on my leg?
No. That's the next session. Lovely.
I'll show you on camera. So I had a fasciotomy is where they slice through the fascia of your muscle, and then that relieves the blood, relieves the pressure.
Whoa!
So I had that in my quadricep.
When was this? How old were you?
21.
Wow.
A few moons ago.
How did you do it?
Football. Went to boot the ball, and I was sprinting, planted my foot that got hit. And as I planted it, some guy just came in and kneed me in the side of the leg, just went straight in with his knee like a flying knee. And the swelled up overnight. The next day, it was inches thicker than the other leg, really big. And they had to slice it open to relieve the pressure. Spent the next month in the hospital dealing with it, healing up.
Yeah.
And then, so that was pretty rough. Going back to the story, to what I was trying to say, my leg was completely straight and I could not bend it. But every day I would massage it, and every day I would start to put pressure on it to bend it. And it took days and days and days, months until I could get my calf to touch my hamstring again. But it was like, why am I bothering? It hurts. It's shit. It's never going to fucking bend. I'm never going to play football. And they actually said that I wouldn't be playing football for about 9 months or so. So I got out of hospital on Halloween that year, ages ago. And by December, I was back in the gym. And by January, I was playing football again. But it's because I just constantly worked on it every single day. Yeah. Bending my leg. I was trying to bend my leg. I was trying to strengthen it. I was trying to increase the range of motion. But at the time, it felt like it was never going to happen.
Yeah.
But I was just laser focused on it because I had a reason to, because I wanted to go to the gym. I wanted to play football again. Yeah. Exactly. I had a big reason.
That's like what I've been doing is I've been going, is it Michael Jordan that's the runner, isn't it?
No, Michael Jordan's the basketball player.
Michael Johnson? There we go. That's the runner.
Michael Johnson, he's a runner, yeah.
Boom. So he was talking about like timing himself up and down the corridor when he was getting over quite a major injury and thinking of it like the sprinting. And I've spoken recently to a businessman called Asran Osman Rani. He did an event I was doing, and he tells his story of it being like he was in a disastrous cycling accident and then did an Ironman like 80 days later or something like that. But it was the 1%ers. It was the tiny efforts that got them both back up and running and where they were. And that's kind of how I've been thinking about this, with the proof of like Zoom classes. Can you believe it? You hated them so much. And I was like, they're so good.
Yeah, I did hate it. I hated it. It was shit. I'll be honest. It was absolute
all you wanted to
wank.
do was walk around and tell us what to do better, and you couldn't coach from the Zoom.
We did some coaching, but it was very difficult, and it was just shit. And the thing that wound me up is just how unnecessary it all was.
Yeah,
that's what really pissed me off.
Yeah, I know. But they worked, and they've certainly changed the way that I perceive my own fitness and my fitness goals, and how I deal with life. Like, I learned so much from CrossFit about life. Like, if you listen to any of my daily episodes, she says, promoting the podcast again, everyday positivity.
What's it called again?
Everyday positivity, I think. I regularly am talking about CrossFit. I'm regularly going like, this morning I learned this, or I learned that. It's just such a great little space to grow in life. That's why I love it so much.
And the main thing is because it challenges you.
Yeah.
And that goes back to what we've been talking about for the past 40 odd minutes, is that you need to be challenged in order to grow, whether it's your partner being honest with you, whether it's me being honest with a member at the gym, you being honest with your daughter.
Yeah.
Through the challenge will come improvement if handled in the right way.
Yeah.
There's a couple of cheesy sayings. If it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you.
It doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you.
That's it.
That's going on that's in an episode.
That's an old one. That's a proper old one. So we've covered a lot there.
We have
a few taboo subjects.
Yeah.
And I hope this, if there are any women who don't want to exercise, they've been told by a GP that they can exercise because of this, please get in touch. Get in touch with Kate. Get in touch with me. Get in touch with a physio who knows the female body.
Yeah, that's really key.
Yeah.
I genuinely think that, to be fair, I think attitudes have definitely changed. And I think, for me, I think if I could, if there's, first of all, don't search prolapse on Google. Those pictures are not nice to look at. But second of all, like, I'm now going through a breathing process that I never ever did, and no one ever showed me. And I think if there's one thing to say to men and women, because pelvic floors affect men as well, then I think it's that breathing and pulling everything in as you breathe out, rather than the other way around.
Good stuff.
There you go.
Wicked. So your podcast. This is what you do, isn't it?
What podcast?
This is what you do.
Yeah, it's what I do.
You are a podcaster.
Yes.
I was really shocked when you told me that. I wasn't doing a podcast at the time when we first met, when we first started talking about it. I wasn't doing it. I don't think.
No, I think I don't think you knew that I.
No.
Definitely started.
I
felt bad that I hadn't listened. Yeah, and then Tim's like, "I'm on it." I was like, "Oh, I really want to listen." I said, "I listen."
Yeah, I remember it being a bit of a kick though when you did tell me. I was like, "Oh, I need to get cracking with that." And I've had over the last, I've had whether I've not had a guest on, or I've had to move people around, or I've just not felt like doing it. And I always do want to do it, and I feel like when I do really not want to do one, I should do one anyway.
Yeah, I always find that the ones that I don't think were very good, or have exposed too much of myself, are the ones that do really well as well.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
It's just about, I think it is about consistency. I've been inconsistent recently, and the main reasons being is that I'm so pissed off with things I do talk about, whether it's, because all this stuff ties in for me, like all this COVID bollocks. It all ties in with people and how they are and how they act and how they live their lives.
Yeah.
All of it. How submissive, passive, vulnerable, naive people are. how lazy they are. It all comes together. And when I think about one thing, I get fucking raging about another, and so on. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. And also it just, I mean, look, it just, I think when we've spoken about it in depth before, we've all, I said to you before, it's our values are being really challenged at this point. Like, if you're into CrossFit, there is a good chance that you believe in taking responsibility for your own problems, and you really believe in the fact that you can change everything. And there are people in the world who don't think like that. And that's okay that they don't think like that, but it really rubs up against those values that you hold, I think.
Well, yeah,
and that's why you struggle. But it's also judgment. Like when you say there, well, people are lazy, that's because it's rubbing up against your values of not being lazy. When someone says to you, you've got an attitude, that's because it's rubbing up against their values, because they don't perceive.
Yeah, it's beliefs being challenged.
Yeah.
But self-responsibility, self-ownership, like take some, I'm not responsible for you.
No.
Because you're overweight.
I'm not
worried. Not you. I mean,
I'm trying to get that BMI down.
BMI.
I know.
Mine's
BMI.
My BMI is high also.
Yeah.
Very high. I'm obese.
I know.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
It's challenging time.
It's challenging. And people say, "Oh, you have to understand people. You have to understand what they're going through and all that sort of stuff." But again, like the engine light's on in your car, if fucking something needs fixing, it's not opinion, it's fact. If you're, it's a fact that obesity leads to boom, 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 and they are all the leading causes of death.
Yeah.
It's like your tire's flat, your engine's about to blow up, your oil light's on. This is happening. All these blinking lights are going off. It's not an opinion. It's not like, oh, that's you're being hateful towards me. I'm pointing out that you're going to fucking die painfully early. And I'll fucking say it.
Yeah,
I will. I will say it. Because it needs to be said. We need to be honest with each other about it. And at some point, facts don't care about your feelings.
Oh, that phrase gets banded around in my house quite a lot. Yeah, and you said something then about, I don't know what it's like to be you. I think that's one of the areas we're kind of losing ourselves into slightly, because no one knows what it's like to be you. Your experiences have been put together in a certain way that have built you to be who you are. Yeah. My experiences have put me together in a way that so no one really knows how each of us feels.
Yeah. When part of coaching is understanding how people feel.
But we do know some things, and we do know, yeah.
So like the process is, say I've got someone who's overweight, right? Yeah. This might be someone I'm working with at the minute. So someone who's overweight, and I'm trying to find out everything about them.
Yeah.
And when they tell me something that rings an alarm bell, I point it out.
Yeah.
And I press on that nerve. I'm waiting for that bit of information. And I'm like, oh, I found out something there. Let's fucking press on it. And usually it's hard for someone to talk about. But I know that I'm onto something then, because we're going to reveal something. I'm going to learn about why they are the way they are and why they do the things they do. And when I learn that, I can use that and help them in the long term. So I know that one of my clients is reckless because they don't value their own body and health. They're reckless with it.
Go on.
So I use that information then to find out why they think so little of themselves. And then eventually build on that so that they can build confidence, understand that they are worthy, and start to learn how to start to prioritize their own health and themselves and put themselves first, so that then we can start looking at food. Then we can start looking at exercise. Yeah. Like if the foundations aren't there and people don't feel the need to improve or the need to be healthy or whatever it is, just giving them a load of fucking instructions, diet plans, whatever. I don't even believe in diet plans, by the way. I just want to say that diet plans are dog shit. Yeah. They're not going to do anything, and they're not going to stick to it. They might do it for a week and then they'll fuck it off.
Yeah.
But if we don't really find out why people are the way they are. And that's all the coaching is. Tell me your deepest, darkest secrets, and the skilled people can get it out of you. And because not because of conversational skills or Jedi mind tricks, it's because they care. And as soon as you know how much I care, you'll let me in.
These robots are not the ones you're looking for.
Correct. These droids. Yeah. These aren't the droids you're looking for.
These droids, not droids I'm looking for. Yeah, absolutely. And it, you know, yeah, it's you're making me think a lot about the conversations I need to have this evening when my daughter gets home from school, because I think I love this phrase: you can't read the label when you're inside the bottle. I love it so much, because you just don't know what you don't know your own stuff until someone goes, see this label on the outside, that's what's going on. So coaches, I think, and I'm a coach as well, I think they're really invaluable. So that's actually really, just talking to you now has helped me go, oh yeah, okay, I can see how I can see the fence, the bit of the fence I need to go through now. Well, the door is opened and I can find another way to talk to my girl about stuff that she's going to be struggling with.
Yeah. Yeah. It's mad, isn't it? All of our problems can be solved with honest, open conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, they can.
Not censorship.
No. And the way I got the stuff out, it's so true, because the way I got stuff out of her yesterday was actually by going, this is my challenge and this is what I'm scared of. And I'm scared of having this conversation with you because of the things that I see in the news and all of that. And she then turned around and went, this is what's been happening. I'm like, there you go.
You've been honest.
Yeah.
And you've like laid the ground out there. Say, look, I'm being honest with you.
Yeah.
You can be honest with me if you want to.
Yeah. And then I'll go on a podcast the next day and we'll talk about it.
Yeah. That you'll never listen to.
That is part of my process. Step 1, cry about it. Step 2, work out the plan. Step 3, deploy the plan. Step 4, podcast.
So it's like saving your data, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know it's there then.
Yeah, done it.
You know
right, now I can move on. So thank you.
My pleasure. Just learning. Like I've made so many mistakes with it. But being honest has never been a mistake.
No, never.
Never, ever gone, oh, I shouldn't have spoken my mind there. Like, I've done it a few times with the missus, but that was my delivery. My delivery was off.
You know, I say that to Tim all the time. It's never your point. It's always how you say it.
Yeah. Us men are a bit, sometimes we kick the door open.
We all are.
Kick the door open and brandish the machine gun without like checking what's in there.
Yeah, that's a whole other podcast. I could talk to you for hours about that.
Yeah, I need to get better at that. I am getting better at that. Yeah. But, a few rounds later we'll have it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's could go off on one here. But yeah, just a good, I've got a friend who's no longer with us, and she used to say, it's not a proper relationship if you haven't smashed a few plates. And then I have this great story where Tim and I had a row once. We used to live in Bath, and the bathroom door was like, we got it like this. We didn't buy it like this. The bathroom door had like one of those glass, it was one glass sheet pane, those ones that have the frame.
Oh, yeah.
I had I was like, right, Tasmanian devil moment, where I was proper raging, and I slammed the bathroom door and the glass went and shattered onto the floor. And all I could think was Penny saying, it's not a proper relationship unless you smashed a few plates in that moment. And then we just both fell about laughing and cleared up the glass and got a new door. But yeah, that's just a miscommunication and hormones and emotions and all of that things. Nice little petri dish of.
But the best you have to like in a relationship, you have to get good at arguing.
You do, and be okay with it.
Yeah, yeah. You have to get that, like, you're going to disagree. If you don't disagree with your missus or whatever.
We've never had an argument. I heard once. I always go, liars. Liars. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. You have to, you can't, it's life rubbing up against life, isn't it? Where's
the passion?
Yeah, you can't make
as far as rubbing up against things goes as well. You need a bit,
right.
Like, you need some passion. There's like, oh, you've pissed me off. Still going to bang you though. Do you know what I mean? You need a bit of that. If it's all just like, yeah, that's great, I agree with
all
everything
the tension, isn't it?
Say, and I know Laura looks at me sometimes and she's like, dickhead.
Yeah.
But I know that she She understands why I'm the way I am.
I adore my husband. He's the best thing since sliced bread.
I agree. He's cool.
We've been together since we were 14,
Oh,
15.
wow.
So, and I'm 41 now. And I was like, every time I look at him, I go, I was right.
Yeah,
vindicated.
That's amazing. He's the top guy. I loved him.
Yeah.
I had
He has that effect on people like you.
I had loads of good feedback from the podcast we did the other week.
Did you?
Yeah, really good. Yeah.
He's good like that. And all this stuff, like, I mean, how ace is it that I'm like, could you have a look for me? Like, I've got friends who are like, I'd never ask my husband that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
When we had Louis and I had to go to hospital to have stitches, he walked across the end of the bed and I went, everything all right down there? And he went, yeah. It's fine, babe.
You're all good. Brilliant.
But he's ace and he's just done nothing but, he gets cross, but when it comes to the crunch, he's there, he's solid. He says all the right things, does all the right things, and yeah, he's my rock. So yeah, adore him. And it's been ace coming to the box with him again. Like actually training together has been really nice.
Yeah, we love it when we get a chance to train together.
Oh God,
you think that we're both PTs and we'd be able to get to, but with 2 kids and
yeah, you competed this weekend as well.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, that was ace. That was really good. Lovely.
Love that.
Yeah. She'll forgive me for going fast on the workouts, I think. She did.
Yeah, when I've paired up with Tim actually recently, he's really quick on stuff, and he's like, I was like, I'm knackered by the end of it, and he's like, that's because you've got no brakes. Like,
yeah,
he gets to properly rest. And I'm like, the engine goes out, comes back in 2 seconds later, and everyone else is taking ages. So yeah, it's annoying, but it's fun. And now Louis doing it as well, and one day we might get Connie in the box as well. Keep thinking about taking my own, doing like level 1 or something, or kids training, so that I can like role model that one out and be there to train her, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're already a great role model.
Oh, thanks.
I think you already are. Like, you literally talk about positive body, positivity and well-being every day.
Yeah.
For one. Do you know what I mean? You're doing a job that you love.
Yeah. The made
up job that you love.
Yeah.
Same really. I did some bullshit job. I quit my job that was shit. I hated it to do what I wanted to do because I realized what I wanted to do was be really happy. Yeah. I know. Hopefully, I'm sure that you'll figure it out. And
yeah, we will.
Yeah, and it might not be CrossFit. It might be netball. It might be it might be line dancing. I don't know. It's something though.
Yeah, we'll find it. We will find it.
Yeah, because I'm truly of the belief that like you need a healthy body for a healthy mind.
Yeah, you do. And yeah, the last few weeks have been interesting, and I think really highlighted that. So
the last year and a half, like if this was talking about, if there wasn't a mile long queue at Mackey's and more people out running, the gym stayed open, it was pushed that health was the priority, and oh, it's all right for you, you're healthy, you're not going to worry about it. It's like, right, well, there you go then. Health is literally free. Like when I didn't have a gym membership, I used to go and train on the park at 4:30 in the morning, every morning before I went to work. So it's like,
but that's your thing, right? That's your thing. So that's the bit that I think that's important to put, that's your thing. And
that is my
thing is I have to have a 6 o'clock start. I have to, I have to like be there on time. All I have to do is walk through that door at 5:57 and hope that Tom doesn't get cross that I'm a bit late. But that's all I have to do is walk through that door at 5:57, and that's really important. I get everything I need once I've done that.
There's what I was saying is that like the reason I did all that though is because I knew that it was important. I valued it, and my confidence with training and fitness was always high because I've always done it, and I was good at some stuff. Like I got like through discus and ran for the whatever the club.
I love that discus.
Yeah, like through discus when I was in year 9 and 10 stuff, and I was always like winning sports day, so that gave me loads of confidence that obviously not many kids get, but it's because it was pushed on me that it was good, it was a positive thing to train,
Mm.
And I just think if you can show kids the value of that, if you can show people the value of that without it being an ego thing where it's like, you're bad at it, you're good at it, you get picked last for the team.
Yeah.
That's how we're going to get more people mindful of their health and fitness.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool. Brilliant.
Nice one. Thank you.
Thank you for your time and telling your story. It's not an easy one to tell.
No, it's not. But it's I think it's really, as I said at the beginning, it's about telling the story in places where people don't expect to hear it, because that's when you actually spread you spread it to the people who need to hear it, you know.
I've seen loads of women piss doing double unders.
Yeah, that's I think.
So what I'm saying is pelvic floor health
is
massive, men and women, of course.
Yeah.
It really, really is important. And it's definitely like an area of people's strength and fitness where they can gain a lot from not doing a lot. Like pelvic floors are just a bit of, holding it in and out, aren't they? Squeezing. Yeah. It's not that.
It is. And it makes everything better. But the, so if anyone wants to talk to me about it, please do feel free to, because I've done this now. There's no hiding. Yeah.
And please subscribe to Kate's podcast. Give it another
positivity. It's a flash briefing on your Amazon Echo if you want to do that as well.
I'll stick the link to your podcast in the notes.
Thank you.
But yeah, thank you very much, Kate. Thank you for your time, and thanks for listening, guys. I'll see you next week.